Go, go, hurry, little chatter. Page 101. As the remaining Plainswalkers step through the bubble, they each take one last look back at their fading comrade. A final echo of Little Chatter's voice urges them to make haste. Little Black Ears is particularly upset, as they considered Little Chatter to be one of their dearest friends. The 10 Plainswalkers are now 9. Memories from us all. They're flowing directly into our minds. Page 102. The group experiences what appears to be a mass vision or hallucination during their entry into the navel itself. Due to the Tluxian environment and its mysterious effects, these various memories are now being shared amongst all of the living tribe members. Those adults, they're the ones we met a while ago. It's a memory I shared with Little Chatter. We can't take in bug-eating children. They are far too beyond our side. Agreed. Who knows what will sprout from them in the future? Page 103. The mysterious effect of the forest navel still lingers. Throughout those shared memories, we now focus upon a particularly bittersweet one experienced by both Little Black Ears and Little Chatter. The recollection begins with a chance meeting the children had with a tribe of adult Sergals. The orphaned children were all hoping to join with the grown-ups, but instead of being accepted, they were called bug-eating children and turned away. The adults made comments about the children becoming something different and things sprouting from their bodies, but what are they talking about? First, when the adults refer to the children as being beyond their side, they are metaphorically speaking about one's humanity, as Eltis folk who partake in the consumption of black Tluxian insects and or organisms will inadvertently incur changes to one's internal organs and their physiology due to the volatility of Tluxian parasitism. To see this explained further, recall from our previous in-depth lore on the Sieg Sergals and Kiki's article on Sieg Sergals. In particularly, take a look on the sections The Relation Between Sieg and Meals and Sieg Clan's Purpose and Culture for yet another example of this strange phenomenon in action. Look no further than Osashimi, a fan character whose parasitic infestation is entirely feasible. As the old saying goes, you are what you eat. Only that one child could speak like us adults. They're probably a lost child. Poor little thing. But why? Just when we finally found adults, they left. And that's when Little Chatter told me everything. Sorry, but I knew all along. You're only half human now. I learned that our food badly changes us. But if we become stronger, smarter, and eat food like adults do, maybe one day we can get away from scary places like this. We should also share and hand down all of our important memories to everyone in our tribe. Page 104. As the adult Sergals hint at, Little Black Ears is revealed to be not originally from this group of Sieg tribe children. The adults noticed that Little Black Ears had better language skills than the other children, and even admitted that they could speak like us adults, evidence of having a civilized demeanor. This is because in Xingu, a person is only recognized as an adult if they are deemed to be civilized, which include being adept at verbal communication. It was then suggested that Little Black Ears may be from a civilized group and had become lost or orphaned, which would explain why Little Black Ears is now in a primitive Sieg tribe. However, despite being recognized for their verbal skill and civilized origins, a harsh fact was laid bare. Little Black Ears had already spent too much time in the Sieg tribe, partaking in an infectious diet of black Tluxian and being dubbed a bug-eater. Resigned to do nothing more than pity the lost child, the adults turn away and depart. With Little Black Ears' hopes of salvation shattered, they drop to the ground and fall into despair. Ever since they became separated and joined the Moldigger tribe, they dreamed of having a group of adults rescue them and the rest of their tribesmen from a primitive lifestyle, and all of the suffering and horrors that came with it. Finally, Little Black Ears had found out what they were seeking. only to be so coldly declined. Little Chatter reveals something that they had been keeping to themselves, that little black ears had already lost half of their humanity quite some time ago. But because they knew this fact would cause so much pain, Little Chatter had decided to keep it a secret. However, they knew they couldn't remain quiet any longer, and explained that while their humanity may be tainted, they still have to hold on to the hope that they will survive, adapt, and one day no longer have to live in fear. And even if they don't live long enough to see their wishes realized, they have vowed to pass on their memories and pave the way forward. Page 105. With the memory of Little Black Ears past fading, the tribe finds themselves back in the bizarre landscape of the forest navel. As the navel continues to impart its mysterious effects, Pick has been blanking out, seemingly caught in trance. Meanwhile, the landscape surrounding them has begun to move about, collapsing and melting fluidly. EK desperately holds onto his brother, while the Sergals seem to begin floating. Panic fills the air as reality appears to twist and warp around them all. Everyone! Little Oracle, Little Grasstail, Little Baldy is missing. Huh? Little Baldy? Who's that? Maybe someone vanished in the gap between the bubbles. But Little Baldy was just with us. They're a member of the Moldigger tribe. We all knew them. Little Baldy once moved on in a cave, then came back. How can we forget them? Page 106. Finally, Little Oracle and Little Grasstail are reunited with the rest of the tribe. Little Oracle is quick to exclaim that Little Baldy is missing. However, something quite peculiar is afoot, as every other member suddenly cannot remember who Little Baldy is. Little Grasstail speaks up, mentioning a mysterious phenomenon that can happen in the forest. Thinking aloud, they suggest that this so-called Little Baldy may have slipped into the space between the two bubbles, disappearing into the void. For the tribe to be aware that such a thing can even occur indicates that this isn't the first time this situation has occurred. When we hunted moles together, and we went to find String, they were always with us. They got good ears and warned us about danger many times. I'm not sure, but maybe they sound a little familiar? I know them a little bit. We can't remember them, but somehow, tears still come to our eyes. We don't know them, yet we know who they are. They are here, within all our bodies. We are always together. Eventually, we all return back to the shell. Page 107. The Moldigger tribe members have begun to exhibit a complex and contradictory state in their memory due to the prolonged exposure to the inner workings of the Telexium biome. Their memories begin to fall apart or get mixed with each other, a fine line between one memory and the next. This state makes them confuse and second-guess their own memories. They are unable to identify whether it is true or not, who was actually there, etc. When a tribe member muses, they are within our body, regarding the missing tribe member, they are potentially revealing an explanation as to why they can seemingly be remembered yet also forgotten. Such a belief is based on their tribal knowledge and faith, as explained and mentioned on page 32. Within this situation, tribe members have begun to consider a reluctantly optimistic form of hope. One such example includes the following line of dialogue. Well, at least it is good their soul remains within us, referring to how everyone returns back to the shell, the invisible essence that makes up the entire tribe's collective souls. This concept was previously explained by Koju. That's wrong! Remember what Little Chatter said? If we all cooperate together, we can return to the human world. Don't give up! Mr. K, we will surely... It's the monster! Page 108. Just when the tribe members were about to lose faith and reluctantly adopt a morose, optimistic form of hope, Ikei speaks out against their mindset, urging them to remember Little Chatter's words. The tribe members seem to be emboldened and rallied by Ikei's words, if only slightly. Little Black Ears was on the verge of chiming in with something of their own on the matter, but their words were swiftly interrupted. The monster has caught up to them. Yeah! The monster's too big to attack here. Now's our chance to get away. Quick! Through that hole! Page 109. Having finally reached its prey, the monster wastes no time in attacking the tribe members. While the children try to stand their ground with the spears raised, they are no match for this colossal beast. Extending its gaping maw, the Talixian creature begins to rapidly draw in air in an attempt to inhale its victim's whole. However, Little Grasstail is quick to point out that the monster is too large to effectively attack them in the narrow area they are in. But the advantage will not last long. Wisely, they make a hasty retreat, heading for a hole to duck into. Hurry! Go deeper! I can't! It's a dead end! Page 110. The tribe members crawl into various holes, attempting to hide in the narrow tunnels within. Unfortunately for them, the monstrous Talixian housepecker is adept at infiltrating narrow spaces with its extendable neck. To make matters worse, the tunnels do not go as far as they had hoped. Little Grasstail turns around to see the creature's mouth coming for them. Terrified, they position their spear to strike, but will it be enough to save them? Get back! We can't get through! Hurry, make the hole bigger! Page 111. Knowing that desperate times call for desperate measures, Ikei body slams a tunnel wall and breaks through it, opening up an escape route for Little Oracle. This is what Agunders are capable of. They are generally tougher and have a more robust physical structure compared to other Eltis races. These qualities grant them a powerful nature when they attack something with their body. Thanks to Ikei's earth-shattering tackle, the tribe members have rejoined each other in the maze-like tunnel. However, they are trapped yet again. A hole that marks the way forward is too small to pass through. 3 of them desperately begin to widen the hole, using their spears to break up the surrounding material to pull it away. It's here! Don't panic, it can't reach us just yet. Page 112. The tribe continues working at widening the hole, using their spears to break up the surrounding material and pull it away. The housepecker seems to be unable to stretch its neck any longer. However, it seems to have another trick up its sleeve. The creature begins to vomit up a slimy mass which appears to be part of its inner organs. With horrified expressions upon their faces, the tribe members look on in shock. Little Black Ears, use this salt water. Ah! Page 113. Finally, the hole in the wall has been excavated enough to fit through. As tribe members begin to duck through the opening, it becomes clear that they don't have enough time to get everyone through. Thinking fast, Ikei pulls out a big bag of salt water and pours it over their weapons. Doused sword in hand, the brave Agunder tries to lead the charge against the monstrous housepecker. Will the addition of the salt be enough to drive the alien back? It flinched! Go now! Page 114. Ikei, Little Black Ears, and Little Grasstail launch their attack on the housepecker's inner organs with their saltwater-covered weapons. Their blows are effective and injure the monster, causing it to be temporarily halted as it recoils in pain. Taking full advantage of the opportunity, the 3 slip through the hole to catch up with the others. It's up above! Little Lefty! Page 115. As the group travels through the confined space ever further, in their attempt to evade the housepecker, Little Lefty alerts everyone to the fact that the creature is right above them. Not even a moment's notice later, the housepecker's elongated neck suddenly bursts through the thin and fragile wall, which were granting the group momentary reprieve. Within a split second of chaos, the housepecker manages to catch Little Lefty by their legs, flinging them about violently. The creature tosses the helpless Sergal upward, and then falls straight into its gullet. Meanwhile, everyone can only look on in horror. Ah, my body! Page 116. Deep inside of the housepecker's bowels, Little Lefty is still fully conscious as they slide down the gullet and further within the creature. Suddenly, The innards of the creature begin to latch onto little Lefty's body, forming strands of webbings. Despite the poor Sergal's attempts to struggle against it, the tendrils begin to pierce into their flesh, burrowing deep underneath their skin and coursing through their body. Little Chatter? There are many things coming into my mind on their own. Please help me. Little Lefty, you will lose what is left of you, and you will become something else. But it's okay. As have I. Now you will never feel lonely anymore. We can be together again. Look, little righty? Page 117. Within the spiritual boundary of the Telexian, little Lefty sees a phantom apparition that takes the shape of Little Chatter, shortly before shifting to become Little Righty. They seem to have come to terms with their situation and fate, and are trying to usher little Lefty into a world where there is no pain, and everyone can be together again, free from the bonds of suffering. We're all going to be connected, our memories and our feelings. Everyone is here. Everything is here. Now, come here. Page 118. As little Lefty experiences a deep trance within the spiritual boundary of the Telexian, the apparition of Little Righty begins to explain that everything will be connected together, their memories, their feelings, everyone and everything. Just then, a strange, unknown voice deep within the spiritual boundary calls out to come hither. Meanwhile, outside of the Telexian creature, a strange tendril of slime flies out and splatters onto Peck, adhering to his face. Peck! Hurry! Page 119. Peck cries out as he tries to clear his eyes from the smattering of gunk slopped across his face. EK prompts everyone to make a run for it with haste. However, as their attention was focused on the housepecker, they have unfortunately stepped onto a patch of soft and unstable ground. Little Oracle! Yeah! Page 120. The seemingly limp and unstable ground upon which the tribe members stepped on has begun to collapse, flowing inward and down. During the situation's turmoil, the housepecker extends its neck towards the members while opening its maw wide. In a flash, Little Grasstail grabs a hold of Little Oracle and quickly pulls them to safety in order to keep them away from the monster's impending mouth. They immediately follow with a counterattack, letting loose a powerful shout as they thrust upwards in a rise against the housepecker with a spear. All the while, Little Weaver and Fuzzball witness the thrilling moments unfold in both fear and awe. Oh, Sashimi. Hey, want to see a northern Sergal with visual parasites sprouting off of them? Of course you do, here they are. Let's read about what's going on here. So, Oshashimi is a northern Sergal and a researcher who devoted her life to studying Telexian magic. During her research, she became infected by several species of Telexian parasites. Over time, these organisms spread throughout her body, gradually replacing and altering parts of it. As the infestation progressed, her senses, thoughts, and perception changed until they no longer resembled those of a typical Eltis. Whenever she travels near Eltis settlements, Oshashimi conceals the parasitic organisms living within her. However, as the years have passed, suppressing them has become increasingly difficult. Because of this, she spends more and more of her time deep within the Telexian wilderness, where the parasites can exist freely. Now, living almost entirely within the heart of the Telexian biome, Oshashimi continues her research into its many mysteries. Rather than treating the parasites as a disease, she has developed a close, almost symbiotic relationship with them. Their bond has grown so strong that she is able to communicate with them on a basic level. Although Oshashimi is advanced in age, her appearance is unusual. Her parasite-controlled body has remained small, giving her the stature of a child. At the same time, changes to her hormones and physiology have left her with facial features that seem to blend those of a young girl and an elderly woman, creating an unsettling appearance that reflects her altered nature. When she enters a region of the Tilixium biome filled with dense miasma, she and the organisms within her experience vivid, shared dreams. In these visions, they witness the ancient Eltis Ocean that existed in the distant past. Within the established Vilous setting, Tilixium parasite organisms are canonical. As a result, Oshishimi's condition is considered a plausible outcome of prolonged exposure to these life forms. So, Bug Eater denies them from ever being considered a human. What exactly does that mean? Well, put simply, he's changed internally too much to be considered human anymore. Less human or host for all the parasites that they've eaten. Shell? Okay, I was wondering what this was, and I'm glad it's not too hard to understand, after all. Souls don't die, they're just waiting. Housepecker? Alright, let's read up about what the hell we're dealing with here. So, the Housepecker is a large, highly aggressive Tilixian creature whose body appears to be made of countless insects and worms fused into a single organism. It has a massive black body, a long pointed beak, 8 legs, and a swollen abdomen. These creatures react to physical contact, attacking anything that touches it and swallowing its prey whole. Housepeckers display characteristics of both red and black Tilixian groups, and share several traits with mountain leeches and Tilixian stalkers. We're not going to talk about those. Biology. A housepecker's body is dominated by its enormous head, long neck, limbs, and abdomen. The abdomen contains undigested organic matter, Tilixian parasites, and deposits of Hizomi Nanbon. Without its abdomen, the creature's head appears to be disproportionately large. Its beak is long and razor-sharp along the upper edge, while the neck folds like an accordion, allowing it to extend rapidly when attacking prey. Although its outer shell is mostly smoky black, the creature's internal anatomy is colorful. The stomach is gray, the surrounding muscles are red, and the lining of the mouth and ink sac near the anus is dark purple. Many predators feed on the housepecker's abdomen rather than its main body. As a result, individuals missing large portions of their abdomen are common. Housepeckers never chew their food, they swallow prey whole, much like a large snake. Destroying the abdomen only prevents digestion. It does not stop the creature from hunting. The only reliable way to disable a housepecker is to sever its head and neck from the body. The beak can regenerate if damaged, and even a severed head is capable of regrowing. However, the neck regenerates much more slowly. Applying salt to the wounds along the neck prevents regeneration entirely and permanently kills the creature. Housepeckers possess 8 legs, but usually walk on only 4. The remaining limbs are folded against the body and used for climbing, grasping, and for maintaining balance when needed. Each leg ends in 2 strong claws that allow the creature to drag its heavy body across the rough terrain and climb steep surfaces. Abdominal substances. Instead of fully digesting prey, housepeckers transform what they consume into new Tilixian biological material. The thick abdomen accumulates thick, sticky masses of partially digested tissue that often undergo fermentation or decay. As the creature travels, pieces of this black organic material fall from its abdomen. These masses are made from the remains of consumed organisms that have been converted into Tilixian tissue. Some eventually develop into independent organisms, such as the black slime-like creature seen in episode 4, and the, 12 Plainswalkers, what we're reading right now. Because Tilixian biology differs greatly from that of Eltis races, the exact processes of life, death, digestion, and transformation remain poorly understood. When an Eltis is consumed by a Tilixian organism, most of the body is dissolved or converted into Hizomi Nanbon. Whether similar concepts of death apply to Tilixian organisms or to organs transformed through Tilixianization remains unknown. The organisms within a housepecker's abdomen continue living independently after being separated from the creature. They remain active until they are reabsorbed by the housepecker or incorporated into another Tilixian organism through assimilation or consumption. These abdominal creatures are highly attractive to other Tilixian predators and are often eaten before the main body is attacked. Because housepecker remains provide excellent growing conditions for Tilixian plants, Eltis communities remove and destroy any remains found near settlements. Even detached body parts remain dangerous, as they can communicate with one another over long distances. If a severed part detects nearby Eltis, it can guide the main body back to its location. Ecology. Housepeckers wander across large areas of Tau rather than defending fixed territories. When their abdomen is empty, they move quickly through forests and plains in search of prey. After consuming enough food to develop a large abdomen, they become much slower. This makes them easier targets for other Telixian predators, which often strip away the swollen abdomen, while leaving the main body alive. Interestingly, these attacks do not appear to be driven by hunger alone, but by the predator's instinctive attraction to the transformed biological material. Because housepeckers travel widely while scattering parasites in undeveloped Telixian organisms, they may play an important role in spreading and maintaining the Telixian biome across Tal. Like many members of the Red Telixian group, housepeckers strongly prefer Eltis prey. If one encounters a village, house, or passing carriage, it will often drive its long beak inside to seize and swallow anyone it can reach. This behavior is the source of its common name, housepecker, natural enemy. Because housepeckers swallow prey whole, they generally avoid fighting creatures that are too large to consume. Most predators ignore the main body and instead feed on the nutrient-rich material attached to the abdomen. The Telixian wolf is considered the housepecker's greatest natural enemy. Wolves are capable of separating the creature's head and neck from its body, preventing it from feeding and leaving it vulnerable to death. Relationship with Eltis people. The most effective way for an Eltis to kill a housepecker is to sever its head and neck with bladed weapons, much like the hunting methods used by Telixian wolves. Because this requires skilled fighters and coordinated effort, most settlements rely on defensive measures instead. Homes are reinforced by sealing openings with stone, and communities often relocate if housepeckers become common in the area. Because of the dangerous parasites and infectious biological material they carry, housepeckers are classified as hazardous organisms in Gold Ring. The trade, transport, and possession of living specimens or their body parts are prohibited, and any recovered abdominal material must be handled with extreme caution. Wow, people do not like this. Almost every comment is talking about how they hate seeing this fella suffer before death. Let me read some. What a horrific fate, says one. Dude, come on. I didn't know this comic was just going to be about suffering and death. That's another one. I don't know about this one, Chief, says another. Like, people are really affected by this character's death. I guess Lefty left a mark on people, which is wild because I read this comic over and over again and he really didn't stand out, besides being understandably afraid of everything in this hellish landscape. Anyway, one more comment. I loved little Lefty. When I saw how scared he was of entering the forest, my heart bled for him. Especially like him, I too am a twin, so seeing how he already lost his twin brother just made me care for him even more. I cried pretty hard for a few days after the last page was posted, but now, going into the details of how he suffers, it just really hurts. I get the point, creator. You want to show how much your world stinks to live in. However, just be ready for the public to react accordingly. No one likes tragedy without comedy to balance it out, because eventually you'll end up with apathetic people like me, who like seeing losers in the media lose. So, it's a win for me, that's why I read it.